Hello, welcome to Derbyshire Ghosts Volume 2. My name's Richard Felix. I'm Britain's most haunted historian. Derbyshire, land of myths, legends, goblins, boggarts, witches and ghosts. What better place to start a video about Derbyshire Ghosts than here in the middle of Derbyshire at Arbor Low, Derbyshire's Stonehenge. On this video we're going to be visiting haunted pubs, stately homes and private houses. We're even going to be revisiting one or two of the places that we visited on Derbyshire Ghosts Volume 1. But this magical place here at the start of the Peak District in Derbyshire has been here for well over 3,000 years. While there's been life on this earth, there has been death. And while there's been death, there have been stories of ghosts. This place, Derbyshire, being so inhospitable during the winter, meant that a lot of the villagers and farmers were trapped by the snows, couldn't get out. And then, when the snows melted and the spring came, they turned up again at the markets in the towns and the villages. And that's when they started to tell their stories of the strange happenings, the things that happened to them during the long, dark Derbyshire nights. But this place here, this is so special. The ancient Britons, going back at least 5,000 years, believed in an afterlife. They believed in another life that went on beneath the ground. They believed that when someone died, that the soul passed from one body to another. And when the Romans invaded here, they couldn't understand why these ancient Britons were such ferocious fighters, why they were not frightened of death. And the reason was, of course, because they believed that death was not the end, that they went on to an afterlife. Now, this place where I'm standing now is a very ancient site. These huge stones that are here now lying down were once standing up. It looks like a clock face. And I'm a great believer in a theory known as the stone tapes. I believe that stone can hold a recording, very similar to videotape and magnetic cassettes. And what I'm going to do is conduct a little experiment while I'm here at Arbor Low to see if I can actually detect any energy that's still being produced from this incredible site here at Arbor Low. This is one of the largest standing stones here at Arbor Low. And if I can just explain a little bit about my theory of the stone tapes. I believe that stone can hold a recording, very similar to a cassette or a videotape. It's to do very much with tragic, traumatic, premature death. Murders, suicides, battles, accidents, and of course sacrifices. The amount of human sacrifice that must have gone on here at this place is a reason why I believe it is so haunted. There are stories of boggarts, vengeful spirits that still linger. People living around this area will not venture onto this site at night for fear of the boggarts. But back to this stone tape business. What I have with me is a crystal which can detect energy. Many years ago I was reading a book about dowsing, and it stated that this person had a dowsing crystal similar to this one. When he went to Avebury, he put his hand on one of the stones and felt the energy surging through his fingers, through his body and down into the crystal, which made the crystal go backwards and forwards like this. I've tried it frequently and it works, but I've never tried it here, not at Arbor Low. And I must say it's a very windy morning in October. The stone is now completely still. I believe if I put my hand on that stone, it'll be like plugging into a 13-amp socket. The energy will surge through and start this crystal to go backwards and forwards. We'll soon see. Here we go. Now you can see my hand is not moving. It is windy, but it is going in the desired direction. This really is happening. But I must be honest, I can't feel any energy coming through me, but it is. The energy is actually coming through this stone, through me and into the crystal, and causing it to go backwards and forwards. I am not moving my hand. Now, if I take my hand off, it should be like unplugging, and we'll see what happens. And it does stop. There is more to heaven and earth than any of us realise. So, settle back, turn down the lights, give me your full attention, and let me take you on a tour of haunted Derbyshire. Haunted Derbyshire 2. And this is more like Blair Witch country than Derbyshire. I'm only about 2 miles from the centre of Derby, in Cotter's Wood at Little Eaton, right on top of the village, looking down on the primary school to this day. Here in the 1800s lived a farm labourer and his wife. Here in this hollow, in fact you can still see the remains of the stone from the walls of that ill-fated cottage. Here is it, I don't know, part of their original fire grate. Nobody knows. The farm labourer went to work, as he did every morning, left his wife baking cakes. During the morning, they had unwanted visitors. Robbers broke through the door, attacked the wife, and murdered her. Stole what they could find of value and left. That evening, the labourer came home as usual to find the door open and blood trickling down the doorstep. He walked inside and, to his shock and horror, saw his dead wife lying on the floor. It was all too much for him. He took himself away from the cottage and climbed the nearest, highest tree. This old oak tree here, which still overlooks the village to this day. He tied a rope to one of the boughs near the top of the tree and hanged himself. They say it took him over 20 minutes to die of slow strangulation. His ghost still wanders, and legend has it that soon after the incident, all the leaves at the top of the tree went black and formed the shape of a hand pointing down to where the cottage was, to where that dreadful incident took place. And also that the boughs at the top withered and died. As you can see, that's what's happened here to this tree. It's not a nice place to be, not even in the daytime. Due to the density of the trees, it's always dark. I shudder to think what it's like at night. But people walking their dogs, courting couples that come up here, have reported that on a dark, windy night when there's a full moon, people can still hear the rope swaying backwards and forwards and creaking from the bough at the top of that old haunted oak tree here at Little Eaton in Derbyshire. This is a true story told to me by a gentleman called Mike Woodhouse. He was quite a famous fruiterer in the centre of Derby, and he lived out here near Belper. This place is called Blackbrook, and he was driving down this road at 11:30 on a Monday morning. It was August 1992. He came round this bend here, and there was a lorry coming the other way. He noticed also that there was a horse with a rider on it, dressed in black, in front of him. He pulled up here to let the lorry go by on the other side of the road, and still saw the horse with the rider more or less where the large tree is there. He was more concerned about the lorry, so obviously he stopped looking at the horse, and then when the lorry had gone, continued. The horse and the rider had gone. It was wearing black. He found it rather strange because the rider had got a tricorn hat and a long black cloak, and it was at that very tree that I've just passed. He didn't think any more about it until he got up here to the junction, the crossroads, and this is the main Ashbourne to Belper coach road. When he got here, he was obviously looking for traffic, and he looked to the left to see where the horse and the rider had gone. And they had literally gone. They had disappeared. They were nowhere in sight. He thought no more of it. He pulled across the road and continued up to his house, up here, up Dally Lane. He got home and he mentioned it to his wife. He said how strange it was that he'd seen this horse and rider dressed in old-fashioned clothes, and then it had just vanished. And he then thought no more about it for 3 weeks. 3 weeks later, Mike Woodhouse was driving from his home down Dally Lane. It was 5:30 in the morning. Remember, he was a fruiterer, and he was on his way to the wholesale market in Derby. He was not thinking of ghosts. He was not thinking of horses with highwaymen on it. He came down the bottom of the road here, and as he got to the crossroads, I suppose to his shock and probably his horror, straight across the road, standing literally where the huge stables are, where the sign, the de-restriction sign is, was a figure sitting on a black horse. It was wearing a tricorn hat, it was wearing a long black cloak, and the horse was black. He stared at it for a few seconds, I think in disbelief, but the amazing thing was he couldn't see a face. It frightened him. He obviously didn't stay. He turned and went off to work, and really and truly thought very little about it. That was the end of it. He still really didn't know what he'd seen. And then the following week, 5:30, Wednesday morning again, he was coming down exactly the same road, Dally Lane, same time. He was thinking about it this time. He got to the crossroads, and yes, the figure was there again. This time he really was concerned. He locked the doors of his Range Rover, but he stopped this time and he thought to himself, I'm going to see this through. And he drove very slowly forward, peered out of the windscreen to have a good look at it. He could still see the figure there, but same thing again, no face. And then it vanished. And then Mick again went off to work. Now, Mike Woodhouse is a very down-to-earth, ordinary sort of bloke. He was a market trader. He is not the sort of person, A, that sees ghosts, and B, that would make stories up. He declined to be interviewed on this because of the fact that he didn't want people to think that he was going to make a fool of himself. I've spoken to him about this in great detail. He brought me here and actually showed me the exact spot where it all happened. That man is very genuine. That man saw the ghost of that highwayman here. Now, there's lots of stories of Dick Turpin being around here. He's been seen on the Chevin. He's been reported by other people. And since Mike's story, which actually went on Radio Derby, other people have, for want of a better word, come out of the woodwork and told of their stories, of their sightings, of the figure of a highwayman here and on the Chevin. And other strange things happen here. There have been many accidents. It is a dangerous crossroads. But one morning, again early morning, a motorist coming around this bend for no reason whatsoever skidded and crashed into the wall here at the very end of what was the original coaching inn. That motorist was killed, and the police have said there was absolutely no reason whatsoever for him skidding and crashing here. Did he perhaps see the figure of that ghostly highwayman here? Nobody knows. But there is actually even more to the story, because our cameraman actually lives in a stable just over here. Now, how spooky is that? And this little cottage down here is actually the cottage of our cameraman, Steve, who is actually filming me doing this. He'd been out drinking one night. The taxi dropped him off here, and he went through the wall, as you do, down these steps, and remember, Steve had had one or two that night, hadn't you, Steve?
I had.
And he came down the bottom here, and standing here, as if it was waiting for him, was a figure in 18th century costume, got a big black cloak on. The figure confronted Steve and said to him, excuse me, sir, I'd like to ask you where you've been tonight and what you've been doing. And remember, Steve had one or two, and, well, perhaps doesn't suffer fools gladly when you've had one or few, as some of us don't, sent him on his way. Steve thought that he was a reenactor, because at the back of here are more cottages, and every now and then they have murder and mystery nights. And Steve quite genuinely thought that this chap thought Steve was part of the cast, which he wasn't. Steve went in and went to bed, but the following morning actually spoke to the owner of the holiday cottages and said, yeah, I had a rowdy bunch last night. One of your reenactors on the murder and mystery was actually down here waiting for me. And the chap said to him, no, he wouldn't. We haven't got anybody in the cottages this week at all, and we haven't done a murder mystery night for quite a few weeks. So who was that figure that stood here and confronted Steve? We'll never know. This is the Peacock Inn at Oakerthorpe. This is a very famous inn. It stands on the London to Sheffield coach road. In earlier days it was known as Ricknell Road, and this place has been here certainly since the 15th century. Before it was a coaching inn, it was a monastery. I've already been here once. We visited this place on Derbyshire Ghosts #1, and something not very nice happened to me in the cellars. There's a long tunnel leading all the way through to Wingfield Manor. Last time I was here, I was rather unprepared. It's flooded down there, and we couldn't go very far. But then again, I didn't want to go very far because the candle kept going out. But this time, we're back prepared. I have a large torch, a pair of wellies, and a bigger candle. So, not really looking forward to this, but let's go in, see what happens. Well, I'm back. I'm inside the Peacock. I've never tried to hide the fact that I am frightened of ghosts, and this is not for the video, this is genuine. I always have been. The fact that something actually happened to both Steve and I, the cameraman, down in the tunnels under here, makes it very difficult for us to go back, because we both hightailed it out of here last time. I've got my kit, my wellies, because it's flooded down there, the trusty EMF meter, and Steve's 1 million candle power torch, just in case. And the candle, bigger one, this won't blow out. And the landlord has furnished me with a stiff brandy. Bit of Dutch courage before I go down, so cheers. Here we go. I genuinely am quite apprehensive about doing this and going down into that tunnel. See what happens. It's fine here, not a problem. Plenty of lights, nicely whitewashed, all mod cons, not a problem. It's when you reach this bit, it gets very old, very dark, and that's where it all happened, down here. Right, shoes off. Wellington's on. And the story is that there are two parts under here. There is a coal mine that was certainly dug out by the monks, possibly in the 1400s. And they reckon that quite a lot of monks, as you can imagine in those days, actually died from rock falls and are still buried underneath. But the other story is that this part here is actually a tunnel, an escape hatch, used to get rid of or to rescue Mary Queen of Scots from Wingfield Manor, which is quite a long way from here. It was after a plot hatched by Anthony Babington of Dethick. Now, the credibility about all this story is the fact that Babington owned lead mines, so he would have had a ready supply of miners to dig this tunnel. It is possible. It's a long way, but it is possible. But I'm hopefully going down now to try and trace the tunnel for the first time ever. Here goes. It's a bit mucky. It's a bit of a drop down here. But, I mean, this rock has been literally hewn with, I don't know, cleavers, axes, chisels. You can see the marks over it. This is ancient, there's no getting away from it. And compared to last time, it's very, very dry. Of course, we've had an exceptional summer. And I don't know, Steve, I don't like this. Never, oh my goodness me, never been in here in my life. And it goes a long way. You all right on the floor? Because it's a bit, here we go. Do you know, I'll keep this on. Now, last time I was here, I hadn't got anything like this far. And this candle, or not this candle, but a candle had gone out twice. This time it hasn't. So we're continuing on. There's a puddle here. Good God. Oh God, I've gone right in. I've nearly disappeared. It's full of mud. And I feel like I'm back on Hoylake Beach when we got stuck in the mud in the vehicle. Try and pull myself out. Yes. How can I get round? This way, I think. I think, Steve, as much as I don't want to go on my own, oh God, there's another one down there. I think you need to stay here. I don't like this. My goodness. I'm going to carry on. Undaunted. Oh God. Don't know whether you can get the camera over this way. If you can move a bit farther forward, Steve. Keep coming. There's a tunnel that's completely silted up here, stretching off somewhere, I don't know where. And I'm nearly through this bit. There's another one. Oh gosh. There's another one going off here. to the left and there's been a rock fall. It looks bloody dangerous. Perhaps I shouldn't speak quite so loud. And the candle's gone. Now, somehow, I presume you got that on camera. I've got to light this again. I'm not letting go of the torch because I don't like being in here. My heart's racing and I need to see nothing down there. Now come on, don't let me down, God. Do not go out again. Blast it. Now there have been reports of ghostly figures of monks actually wandering along this tunnel. That was me. I'm breathing heavily. And apparently there's a lot of poltergeist activity takes place upstairs. If he doesn't go this time, I'm going. All right, it's back on. Now we'll see what happens. Candle burning. There's no draft in here at all. There is no possibility. Come on. I don't believe you. Keep going. It's gone again. I'm going on. Yep, another hole here. Wow. Yeah, another tunnel here. And it continues on. I can't get any farther. It's very muddy and I'll sink into it there. And it continues off through there for a long way. But that's twice the candle's gone. Again, just the same as before. I've had enough. And I think I've explored as far as I can. But as yet, no white monks. I'm rather pleased to say. So, we've gone as far as we can through this old, ancient tunnel. Last time I was here, the candle went out twice. This time, candle's gone out twice. And I think it's time for a sharp exit. The last lingering look at the tunnel. And what does it look like in the dark? Oh my God. We don't like the dark. Let's go. Right. Twice. Just the same. Candle gone. Bigger candle. I don't know. There's no draft down there. But what I didn't use was the EMF meter. Perhaps we could do a bit round here because there wasn't really any. Nobody's got the EMF meter. Deli, you haven't got the EMF meter, have you?
No.
I've got it. I had it on my inside pocket here. Definitely had it. I put it on my inside pocket. That is not possible. Can't be down there. Oh God, I hope it's not down there. I shall have to go back and have a look. I don't want to, but it can't have dropped out because it was in my inside pocket of this jacket and it's very, very deep pocket. It cannot have dropped out. I had it there. Right, let's go and have a look. I ain't going back again. Oh God, got no candle this time. Hey, look. Shit. It's on it. Look, that. Yes, I suppose it could have fallen out. It didn't, I'm sure. I'd got it in my inside pocket, and I've got to go all the way back through there now and get it. Now, strange things happen with this EMF meter. Very strange things. The The other day, we were, gosh, in a haunted property, and all right, I can use it now. I've got it, but I reckon someone else wanted it. No, there's absolutely noise. Yeah, don't know what that is. Yeah, we were in a haunted property the other day, and this was sitting on the table, and went off on its own for absolutely no reason at all. Obviously some spirits around, and then drained the battery. How that got there, I don't know. Strange, but true. Didn't expect a second journey down there. Now, I don't know about that, I really don't. Last time I was here was with the Derby Evening Telegraph. They brought a photographer down to cover the National Ghost Tour of Great Britain, a lad called Stuart. And while he was here, he had 8 fresh batteries drained from his camera. He said it was not possible. He was showing me, he said, look Richard, he was saying, look at the meter on the side of my camera. He was saying, that's fully charged. And within 2 photographs, it was completely drained. I believe that is whatever spirits are around here, use it, because remember that ghosts, spirits need energy to materialise, to do things. And I think they were taking the energy from his batteries. He said he'd never, ever known that to happen before. But it happened here. I think that's enough. I think I'm ready to get out again. So I'm going. Right, what we found down there wasn't very nice. That's the tunnel. That's definitely the tunnel that went towards Wingfield Manor. But here, under this rather large piece of glass, I'm told, here is the original coal mine. And it's rather difficult to get down there, but you can actually see down, there's a skeleton down there. I hope it's not real, but you can actually see the tunnel going round the corner, and it is a different tunnel. And the landlord tells me that this is the actual coal mine, not the escape tunnel. So another first, something that we've never seen before. But I doubt very much whether that skeleton was one of the skeletons of the monks. I think it's plastic. Right, now, this is a scoop, to say the least. I'm inside a wonderful old cottage, farmhouse, going back certainly to the 1680s, with me, Clive and Kelly, and we've actually got an active ghost, a poltergeist here in your home. And it isn't very often, I'll be honest with you, that you get into a private residence to do this, because a lot of places are pubs and clubs and hotels. I mean, you have no axe to grind. There's no reason for you to come up with stories of ghosts to attract people to come to your house, is there?
I don't want them here.
Exactly. And so, come on, quickly, Clive, because the amazing thing is we're standing here with coffee, and in about a few minutes, 3 exorcists are coming here. The clergy, a vicar, a reverend, and we don't know who else yet, are coming here to do an exorcism in this property. And this is how desperate you are.
Well, the vicar came out, well, the local priest, real nice chap he is, and he came out and blessed the house and blessed us and said as we've got an earthbound spirit, and he said a real nice prayer and offered it a way out and showed it the light to go.
Yeah, as they do.
As they do. But then when he'd finished that while drinking his coffee, he said this is going to do one of 2 things. It'll either settle down and go, or it will wind it up. And it has wound it up, definitely.
When was this, Clive? A few days ago?
What day was that? Friday?
Yeah, I think, yeah.
Yeah, it was Friday. Yeah. Thursday, Friday last week.
And it's now Tuesday.
And things have got
It's Wednesday.
things have got worse.
Yeah, things have got worse. Stuff's being moved around, and it's very, very unnerving. Frightened me to death.
Yeah, you have actually both moved out, of course, for a period of time.
Yeah, can't hack it. The only time I feel really safe in the house is if I've got the dog with me, because I'm convinced is it with the peace offering as it's gave to the dog with the fruit.
Yeah.
I do think as it's not frightened of the dog, it doesn't want to upset the dog.
Yeah.
So when the dog's with us, we don't
It's
get
all
the
right.
cold shudder and all the bits and bobs.
Now the dog sleeps in the kitchen, and one night or one morning you came down, I believe, and found fruit.
There's a bunch of 6 bananas.
Yeah.
And 5 oranges, which had been lifted out of the fruit bowl, carried off the table, across the kitchen, and put by the fruit bowl. Now dog bowl, sorry.
Yeah, on the floor.
On the floor. Now you could turn around and say, well, the dog had done it.
Yeah, fine. It's a very little dog. We'll probably see her later. Yeah.
Terrier. The dog never gets on any furniture. Having said that, she got on the chair this morning.
Yeah.
But the table was full of keys, paper, pens, stuff. Nothing had been knocked on the floor. Now, a bunch of 6 bananas is quite heavy, and for a dog to lift it,
There'd be teeth
there'd be
marks.
teeth marks, slobber. It had moved 5 separate oranges and carried them all, so
No
it had done 6 journeys up on the table, no claw marks on the table, no nothing. And the lot was put there, the whole lot.
The dog, of course, is frightened, is she
dog's
not? In the
petrified.
kitchen.
Sometimes she'll go in, there's no problem at all, and normally we've traced it, sort of tracked it down. When anything's happened, the dog is petrified.
Really?
Absolutely
out of the room.
petrified.
Really?
Yeah.
She's standing in corners looking at things, or
She'll just bolt out of the room.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, times when we felt the presence in the kitchen, the dog will just bolt out of the room.
Right.
And sometimes when she's in here, you know, if the log burner's going, she'll get comfy in a basket. All of a sudden she'll come running in there and jump straight on your knee and just push herself back. You know, you can sense fear off the dog, and the dog's looking in.
Yeah, because they sense things that they see things that we don't.
Yeah.
They're more sensitive to these things than we
I mean,
are.
the times I feel really bad. I feel really bad about the dog because over the last period of months,
leaving her in there.
the nights after nights where the dog's been scratching and trying to get out of the kitchen, and I've gone in and like, hey, what's the matter with you?
Yeah.
You know, shut up and sit down.
Yeah. But she's trying to get away from
Trying to
whatever's
get
in that
away out of
kitchen.
that kitchen.
Now, in here, of course, you used to have a very nice picture
We did.
up above the mantelpiece.
Yeah, I mean that was that last week?
It was Friday, a fortnight ago.
Fortnight ago,
Friday,
was it? Yeah. Friday night, sort of, I don't know, 9 o'clock-ish.
Yeah.
Kirsty was in bed, Kelly was upstairs, and I was standing at the kitchen table. The dog basket was somewhere here. This was moved over there. I think we'd swept up or whatever we'd done. And for what reason, I don't know, I heard something. And I looked over my shoulder, and the dog had already gone. She'd gone in.
She'd scarpered.
Scarp had gone. And this, the hairs are standing up now. This was doing this. Best I can describe it.
The picture?
Yeah, the picture was off. It was off that. It was there. And the next thing, it just slammed down. And the noise was just, well, it's like chucking a brick through a window. And glass shattered. The glass went in that room from here. Just shattered to pieces.
So it was force that threw it up, but it's something lifted it off this very. I mean, this nail's still here.
Yeah.
It's, you know,
Somebody
it's a
had
strong
said-
nail.
because it had got a cheap, crappy metal frame on it.
Yeah.
But it was a nice picture. And somebody said the heat from that had warped the frame. But if you put your hand on the bulb, why can you not? You know, it is hot.
Well,
But on the wall,
it's not going to do that.
Put your hand on the wall.
Yeah, it's not going to do that.
It's stone
Absolute
cold.
rubbish. Yeah.
You know.
The string wasn't broken on the back of the picture.
No.
No, so it wasn't, you know, the string had broken and it just happened to fall at that moment. But you actually saw it like this,
It was-
moving.
Yeah, it was moving. And that's the bit that's a bit.
Absolutely typical poltergeist activity.
And then I think it was the following morning you got up, didn't you? And walked in there, and all the fruit was
Yeah.
there, you know. And that was it then. I thought,
Yeah.
can't cope with this anymore.
Now, this is again unusual. We had to stop filming absolutely abruptly because Stephen, the cameraman, actually spotted the car pull up and the clergy have arrived. Now, the last thing we wanted was to upset things in any way or upset them, so we just had to stop filming because, well, I'm absolutely positive that much as we'd like to, there's no possibility that they would let us film them doing an exorcism. So we've stopped for a few moments and I've come outside. I am actually going to ask them if I can come back in because I've never witnessed a real exorcism, but we'll play that one by ear. Right, they've been, the vicars have been. We stayed out of the way, of course, didn't want to disturb or upset them in any way. What did they do?
Well, they first of all told us of some of the experiences that they've had in the past of helping other people out.
Yeah.
Which was quite disturbing, really. But there you
Mm.
go. They said they put a little silver sprinkler thing that they got holy water out of the fountain, and they went into every single room of the house and gave it a bit of a shake in every corner, which was apparently blessing the house.
Yep.
We all stood in here, and they blessed us and blessed the house in a prayer. And that was about it, really, wasn't it? The only thing they said, they gave the spirit guidance and recommended, as you might say, and you know, if you're stuck here, go to the light. That's your way out if you are stuck.
Yeah. Yeah.
But after they'd done all that, they did say, if you now do one of two things, it will either rest and go to the light, but if it is earthbound and has a problem or something left it needs to do, it will stay. And then they would come back and attempt to force it out. Whether they'd be able to or not, I don't know.
So it's a bit of an open book, an open case.
Yeah.
It's all down to now you staying here. Obviously, it's your home, and see what tonight brings.
Yeah, but it could well have made things worse.
Really? Well, will you keep in touch with us?
Yeah,
Let us know.
yeah, of course.
That's fantastic. Kelly, Clive, thanks very much. Thanks ever so much for letting us into your home, and I just hope that it's had the desired effect.
Yeah.
Thanks. And of course, we're in Derbyshire. We're doing ghosts. We've got to have a haunted, stately home. And what better place than here at Tissington, possibly one of the most beautiful villages in the whole of Derbyshire, steeped in history. And I'm standing in front of Tissington Hall. We're going in, and Sir Richard Fitzherbert is waiting for us with his ghost story. So come inside. So Richard, you're in.
Richard.
Now, ghosts, I believe?
Well, possibly.
I thought so. Inside?
Let's
Or
go
out?
in.
They're inside ghosts,
Come
are they?
inside,
Yeah.
We'll find out a little bit more.
Great
about
stuff.
it. Come upstairs.
Okay.
That's right.
Thank you very much.
Right. Come along
Right.
this way.
Now this is rather it's not a landing, it's a gallery, isn't it?
It's the gallery landing on the top floor of the
Yeah.
house, and it's where we've got some spare rooms and guest rooms up
It's
here.
rather long and a little spooky, isn't it?
It can be deemed like that.
I can
Let's
imagine.
go into this room.
Right. So this is, I presume you brought me here for a reason. This must be the offending bedroom.
Well, this, that's right. This could be the room that poor Wilhelmina initially met her death.
Right. Who was she?
She was the daughter of Sir Henry Fitzherbert.
Right.
And she died in 1862 after having burns inflicted from a fire that she caught from some curtains. We think perhaps in this bedroom.
Yep.
She tried to unsuccessfully wrap herself in the rug or the drug that was on the floor at the time, the drugget.
Yes.
But unfortunately it was tacked to the floor.
Oh gosh, so she was frantically tugging at something to...
That's right, to distinguish
While she was
the
blazing.
Fire. The fire having started from candles lighting the
by the curtains, yeah.
And so she then went onto her bed at the time and set the bed alight.
She was in fact trying to wrap herself in the covers, I presume, to put the fire out.
Well, this is how we perceive the story. And
Yep.
then her sister came along and dragged her down the corridor and put it out.
Wow. And she didn't die though, did she? From well,
She died several weeks later, having seen various apothecaries and doctors of the time,
Yep.
and given some fairly vivid concoctions to drink, like milk and arrowroot.
Right.
And she died of her burns about 3 or 4 weeks later.
Really. And there is an account also that the apothecary may have actually administered the wrong medicine. Is that possible?
There's a little bit of doubt about what he gave her, but it doesn't seem to have done any good.
No. And she eventually succumbed and died after, well, horrendous injuries, I presume, caused by the fire.
Caused by the fire.
Gosh. And she haunts Tissington Hall.
She has been, or what we perceive to be her, has been perceived to have been seen on this corridor, and we once had some video taken when we were doing a thermographic condition survey of the roof.
Yeah.
In that this image was seen literally roughly where I stand now, falling backwards onto the floor, and it was a painting of a lady.
Yeah.
And the image of the half-length portrait was seen falling backwards onto the floor, and it was captured on this video film, which sadly we've now lost. And it was quite a spooky thing to watch.
You saw it, of course.
I've seen the video, and the engineer that took the film was well shook up by this particular image.
Really? But that was actually taken in this room?
Actually taken in this.
And I presume there wasn't a painting propped up in here or anything silly like that?
No. This painting belongs in another room.
Really?
It's a very odd thing. I mean, why would you have a painting just stood? How could it stand? Perpendicular to the floor?
It couldn't.
Right.
It couldn't. Wow. So you actually did have photographic evidence of something that possibly could have been a ghost in this room.
And other people had seen images of a young girl on the corridor and around and about. I'm sure she's benevolent. I'm sure
yes,
she's a nice
most are.
and everything.
Most are.
I don't think I've seen her myself, but I've seen various things in this house that I'm very bad at recalling them, but there are images there, and whether they're ghosts or spirits or whatever, I do think they're of a benevolent nature.
Yes.
And I am, in fact, apart from one other lady in the village, the only person to sleep in this house on my own.
And did anything happen?
No.
No. It usually doesn't when you're expecting it to.
I've had a few drinks now.
Yes, exactly. But I mean, to be honest with you, given the nature of the house and the antiquity of the house and what has happened here over hundreds and hundreds of years, the energy that must have been in the house all those years, it's something remains.
So there's certain things here, I'm sure, in this house. And we've even had our local vicar in this room to bless this room as well.
Really?
Yeah.
So this is it. This is the haunted bedroom of Tissington Hall.
Yes.
Sir Richard, thank you very much indeed. That's wonderful. I'm at Swarkestone in South Derbyshire, close by to Swarkestone Bridge. This is a very, very famous historic site. And this cairn here, which I had erected in 1995, commemorates the farthest point south reached by the Jacobite army of Prince Charles Edward Stuart, Bonnie Prince Charlie, who was on his way to take the throne back for his father. But the hopes and aspirations of the Stuart dynasty ended here at Swarkestone Bridge on December the 6th, 1745, when the 70-odd cavalry that were sent out here to hold the bridge were recalled for the long retreat back from Derby, which ended in bloody defeat at the Battle of Culloden on April the 16th, 1745. But this bridge, this area, is so special. Swarkestone Bridge is in fact the longest bridge in the whole of the country. It's nearly a mile long. The bit that we can see here is only the bridge that goes across the river, but it continues on all the way to Stanton by Bridge. It was built in the 13th century, and it has a special myth to go with it. It was built by two sisters, the Bellamont sisters. Their two betrothed were going to a meeting with the barons on the other side of the River Trent. The sisters were holding a very special party to celebrate the forthcoming wedding. And the two knights decided that they would try and make it back from the meeting. But unfortunately, the River Trent had swollen. It was winter. And they tried to get across on their horses. The horses swam valiantly, but unfortunately were swept away, as were the two men who drowned. And the two sisters spent the rest of their lives raising money and building the bridge and the causeway here over the River Trent. They spent so much money that apparently they both died as paupers and are buried in one single grave in Presswold in Leicestershire. There are, of course, ghost stories connected with this bridge. This is a place of death, of tragedy, and of battle. One of the stories is a gentleman walking his dog across the bridge, and he heard the clatter of horses' hooves and the rattling and jingling of the accoutrements of cavalry. He could see nothing, but he heard them as clear as day. What he believes he heard was the ghostly soldiers of Bonnie Prince Charlie's troops, because it's pretty obvious that being about 5 miles away from Derby, the first soldiers sent here would have been cavalry. So it's quite correct what he heard. But there's a possibility that it could be soldiers from an earlier battle, because in the 1640s a skirmish was fought here on the bridge between the troops of Oliver Cromwell and King Charles I. Bloody fighting here. Soldiers killed, thrown off the bridge and drowned here in the River Trent. And other people have reported hearing the sound of battle. People sitting in the gardens here in the evening at the Crewe and Harper pub say that they have actually heard the clatter and clamour of battle here at the bridge, but have never reported seeing anything. So nobody really knows who we're hearing here. But of course this is a very large stone bridge. And I'm a great believer, of course, in the stone tape theory, that tragic, traumatic death can be recorded in the fabric of a building or in the stonework of a bridge. And I believe here at this ancient medieval bridge and causeway that we're hearing the clamour of earlier times, of tragic and traumatic death that is replayed over and over again at certain times of the year, when it's possibly the anniversary of the deaths, or possibly when the atmosphere is the same as on that fateful day. I'm on the main road between Ashbourne and Buxton. It's getting a bit bleak. I'm standing in front of what must be the oldest inn in Derbyshire. This goes back to 1472. That's before the Battle of Bosworth. It's called the Bully Thorn, or the Bull in a Thorn Bush. It's been an inn since the 1660s, and a place of this antiquity just has to have more than its fair share of ghosts, and it has. And the landladies experience quite a few of them. So come inside and let's find out all about it. And I'll tell you something else about it. It's got one of the spookiest, creakiest doors I've ever heard. Right, well, we're inside the Bullythorn. With me, the licensee, Annette. We go back a long way because I used to bring people out on haunted Derbyshire tours on buses here a long, long time ago. And originally, of course, you actually worked here.
I did.
Before you were the licensee, so you know all the...
Landlord before us.
So you know all the ghostly goings on for many years, don't you?
We're not bothered by them.
No.
We live with them, they live with us. We have odd moments where they sort of make sure that you know that they're still here.
Yep.
But they're quite happy, I think, with us. at the
Most
moment.
people do live with their ghosts, you know. Most people aren't really frightened of them. But I mean, what sort of things go on?
We've had people in the B&B.
Yeah.
Actually, things have dropped off walls and mirrors have dropped off walls.
Yeah.
They touch you. They'll touch your hair as you're working.
Right.
They'll walk past you. You'll feel a draft, and there's just nobody there, as though someone's walked past. But we don't. As I say, we live with them.
Do you get sightings? Do you see things?
Well, no, I don't.
No.
I've never actually seen anything sort of solid, if you like. But other people have said they've seen things.
Yeah, yeah.
But whether they have.
But we don't really know who the ghosts are. When you think, with this going back to 1472, number of people that have lived and died in the place, no wonder
There's
it's
got to be
haunted.
something here.
Yeah.
There has to be with the age of the place.
Yeah. You mentioned there's someone that
Yeah,
actually sits.
Little Jenny. She's called Little Jenny. A medium came in and she sort of picked up on this little girl who was
And she sits there.
She sits there on the slipper box, yeah.
Crikey.
She died in the plague times, but not of the plague.
Right.
The 1640s,
1640s, 50s, 60s. Yeah.
And apparently she's sort of sat here waiting for her mum and dad to come back for her because her parents died before her.
Right.
Sort of not, as I say, not in the plague times, but not of the plague.
Yeah.
And she's just sat there waiting, apparently, to
Crikey.
go back.
Now-
But she's a naughty little imp, really, because she'll pinch things.
Oh, she moves things and
them.
oh right.
She takes scissors. She
Typical
likes-
poltergeist.
Yeah, but not that you can see. Not that she sort of. She won't foist herself on you. You know, you'll put something on the table, you'll put something down on the table, and it's gone. And you know Jenny's had it,
Yeah.
so you say, "Look, Jenny, come on, please,
Bring it back.
bring it back," and it appears somewhere else.
Now you've done similar when you actually took over the place. You knew there were ghosts upstairs, and you actually came in and spoke, told.
Yeah, I sort of. I said, "Look, we're here now. Two things, please. Don't frighten my children who were here at the time, and don't frighten my customers because we need customers. we need customers to come in." And they didn't. We've had odd things happen, like the mirror
Yep.
and the pictures falling off walls and things, but it adds to the flavour of the place.
Of course,
really.
a place like this needs ghosts.
Yes, it does.
It
But
needs
it's
them.
not. I mean, I've known this place for a long, long time, and there's always been something here.
Yeah.
We've not made it up. It's always been here.
Yeah. Always been a haunted
People love
place.
it.
Of course we
People
do.
love the place.
That's
And
why we're
the
here.
atmosphere is lovely.
Yeah, exactly. Now you've also got a dead man's chair, or a ghost has been
Yeah,
seen
yeah,
on this chair over here.
That one there, yeah.
And
The story is it came from Chatsworth,
right.
and
I mean,
it's got
incredible, isn't it? Yeah, yeah.
It's William Cavendish chair.
Right. Oh yes, Earl of Devonshire. Yeah.
Yeah, and the story behind it, so we've heard, we don't know we don't know whether it's true, that there was a fire at one time at Chatsworth.
Yep.
They took all the furniture out to save it. 5 chairs went back. One appeared here.
Really?
We don't know
And
how it came.
People report seeing a figure.
Yeah, they have seen people sat in the chair. It's not. I mean, we used to let people sit in it.
Yeah.
Now it's getting a little bit.
Yeah,
old.
it would get.
It does get abused if
Yeah.
you know it's turned around and drops down the steps. So we just leave it cordoned off, and I think people like that. Think, oh,
Bit more
don't-
special.
Yeah, we don't. We don't want to sit in the chair just in case we sit on his knee or
Exactly,
whoever.
yeah.
They think it's a man.
Really?
Yeah.
Crikey. So basically, if you're travelling down the Buxton Road from Ashbourne to Buxton or anywhere around here, you want a haunted place, you want a good meal, because you do some extremely good meals, I know that, bed and breakfast as well. You might see a ghost while you're here.
You never know.
It's got to be the Bully Thorn.
Absolutely.
Super. Thank you very much indeed.
Welcome.